Seriously? After all that secrecy, this is Redemption Island! Seriously? You had to tell everyone that the cycle would start over again? And then even worse, you force everyone that's on the island to go to tribal council so everyone knows exactly who is still in the game? Oh, honestly. You just eliminated what could have been one great curveball, producers. I am not happy with this. The whole reason I was liking this twist was because it was a bleeding secret, and now this is just Redemption Island, except for the fact that the jury is a lot bigger, and anyone can leave this game whenever they please. Now, I have no problems with the fact that theoretically the jury could have involved the entire cast. I have no problem with that, especially since it would have been, an odd member jury anyway, so that gets rid of the third place person needing to break a tie potentially. But just although if it had been 15, we could have had a 5-5-5 tie. But what are the odds of that? Extremely low, and since it's 13, that eliminates that possibility even, right? But just, I really wish that he hadn't told them. That could have been so shocking, and as I've said before, the jury does not have to be at tribal council. Just put a camera in the corner and say the jury members are watching from the other side of that. OMG. I really hate the fact that they did that. I just hate that so much. Okay, moving on. Let's see what else there is to mention here. That battle back, I can't think of any term to use minus what they use in Big Brother, so that was a nice battle, especially since you had that unique bit where Chris had an advantage and disadvantage, and yet he almost overcame that. At least I'm pretty sure this wasn't the case of them trying to set up a couple of shots to make it seem like it was closer than it actually was. Because Wendy, she definitely almost got it because they showed it from her perspective, not from behind the thing. Like, and what are the odds you got someone that's roughly the same height as Wendy and got them to dye their hair or put just a wig that's exactly in that shade? What are the odds of that? Extremely low. Right. Okay. So that was nice, and I was rooting for either Rick or Aubrey to get back in the game. Like, what has Rick done to put him at last name status? Now, that could be that's how he's addressed in his morning show, but it just as easily could not be. I don't know. I haven't checked it, and I don't really watch morning news shows, so... It was nice to see him get back, because I felt like there was more to see from him, along with Aubrey, and I'm super glad that Aubrey didn't decide to quit. Keith and Wendy quitting, no problems with that, because those were the people that I wasn't really liking, even though it wasn't that they didn't do that much that was bad, it was just that they didn't really get along with most of the other people. Not to say that Chris and Reem didn't cause their own troubles on Edge of Extinction. They did. But those two I was just not a fan of. Although Wendy has stated in her Q&A with Dalton Ross that she did become a vegetarian a few months into being back from the show, so some would call her a hypocrite for not becoming a vegetarian immediately, but as I said a few episodes back, you can't just become a vegetarian just like that. You gotta do some research so you know alternatives to the things that you're eliminating. You're eliminating an entire food group that's not exactly easy. Right. Although that food pyramid that a bunch of us were taught in school, it's stupid. Ignore that thing. Right. Too much carbs. Um, and then that immunity challenge, I was a little surprised to see Joe just drop out of nowhere because that's the first time he hasn't won the first immunity. But history has it that he's booted, I believe, the second time that they can. Because did he win the first two in Worlds Apart? He definitely won the first one. Yeah, and I think he had to have won the second because why would they vote Hallie out instead of him? Right, so actually, you try and vote him out the first time, though that didn't work in Cambodia. Thanks, Spencer, but that was kind of shocking. And then we got the Comma 6 finally getting some screen time, and to the guy that I called Mike, his name is Eric, which is stupid because my dad and my stepfather's names are Eric, and tiny little bit of trivia for you. Their birthdays are one day apart. And their occupations, when my mom started dating my stepfather, were extremely similar. What are the odds of that? Okay. Enough about family history. It was nice to see them finally getting some more justification, because even though they've been relatively invisible, that's because 3 of them never went to Tribal, and then the other 3, they only went to Tribal twice, and one time there was a 0% chance any of them would go, and then the other time, odds were kinda against it. So I actually won't have a problem rooting for anyone in that group as long as they get the edit that justifies it. That's my condition. And I think there's the Julie chick, the one that won immunity. She's kind of on the edge of being invisible in terms of the edit. Like that Aurora chick, I bet she's going to be staying invisible this whole time, which is a little unfortunate for her, yeah. Okay, so you had Ron, Eric, Gavin, Victoria, Julie. Who am I missing? I can figure that out later. But it was totally amazing how they come up with the idea, get rid of Joe, and or Kelly Wentworth, though Wentworth's been a target this whole time, and I thought about it for a little bit, and I concluded that I'd rather them get rid of Joe, not because I don't like him, but 2 things. One, Kelly Wentworth, she's obvious. You know what she's capable of. Joe, okay, he does have 2 seasons worth of gameplay, but never went to Tribal, doesn't have that big of a streak of losing immunities, mostly because they vote him out the first chance they get, so it makes a little bit more sense to get rid of him. And then number 2, while I had 0 reason to dislike Joe this season, I didn't have any real reasons to root for him either, partially because he never went to Tribal. So it's like, get rid of him and we can keep the better people in this game, both those with a better story and better strategic power. And I really love just how the votes were spread out. Comma 6 voting out to Joe, Dave and Rick voting for Kelly Wentworth, the Lezo Free voting for David, and then Joe and Aurora voting for Rick. Wonder why, though, that the Lezo Free suddenly switched to David, because I don't think that there was any real bit in the episode where they were trying to mention David, because I knew even before Rick gave the other half of his idol to David that David had like a 0% chance of going, because I'm like, Wentworth has a bigger chance of going than you, and if they mention Joe, he's got a better chance of going too. So there you go. Your two people in the pecking order are above you because it's most likely to be picked off least likely. So if you can be lower than two people, you're good. Why two people, not just one? The idol. Of course, there's more than one idol, but usually it's just one idol per tribal. Usually. Whew. So it's going to be real interesting to see the results from this because the Comma 6 they're the majority because there's 6 of them in a 12-person tribe, but they have no idols, especially since it's annoying that we didn't get to see what happened to Aubrey's idol, because there could have been one there. And is that idol that Rick got too much? No, because there's still 3 idols in the game, and this idol might not have ever been empowered. It is empowered now, and the number 3, he's been given a second chance from a slightly more unusual situation, because no one knew that he was going to come back, and then all of a sudden, bing, there he is. And there's going to have to be, at minimum, 10 more vote outs, right? Because there's 12 people. You have to get down to 3, but at least one person is coming back, so add that in. And so give him a little bit to help him out. That's still tons of rounds. So you give him a little bit of a leg up. Okay, fine. He still has to get through tons more. Alright. Now, time to try and do top picks for this, but we've got the added complication in that anyone from Edge of Extinction could come back. Ooh, that is really dicey. Very dicey. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This might not be the best approach, but I'm gonna go with one person, I think, from each of the main groups that are left in the game, namely the Edge group, the Comma group, and the non-Comma group, because all that's left is Aurora, and I see no shot for her to win this. So, from the Edge group, I'm going to pick Aubrey, because Reem and Chris, it's explosive personalities. I cannot see them getting this. Joe, okay, yeah, he's definitely still in it, and if he makes it, probably a lock, but I think the odds of him making it are extremely low. So Aubrey, out of the current remaining people there, is the best bet. Out of the Comma group, everyone's pitching Ron as the ringleader, and I fully understand why they're doing it, but something tells me I should not pick him, and instead I should go with one of the other guys, because while Victoria definitely has a good mind on her, I just think her personality is not going to be able to convince people to switch with her. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but maybe I'm not. So between Eric and Gavin, okay, well, the heck, I'll go for Gavin, and yes, I'm being a bit biased, because he does remind me of Nick from last season. And then as for the non-Comma group, Aurora's invisible. War Dog, he's not going to win. He's got a decent mind and personality, but he's not going to win this. Lauren, ooh, okay, I don't want to write her off, but I can't help but feel like she's that close. Rick, I'd have to see more from him. I haven't gotten enough, unfortunately. Sorry, dude. So this is going to be the crazy one, but I'm going to go with David. So why David over Wentworth? I just think a lot of people are going to write off David like they did last time, and then all of a sudden, hey, he's working it over here. He might do something. Okay, that was the lousiest Sean Connery impression. Not on the arse, that's not what your mother said, Trebek. That was way better. But there you go. Okay, so Gavin, Aubrey, David. Those are my top picks. Hopefully, one of them makes it. Because I don't remember if I mentioned this in any of my Ghost Island vids. I think I did. But other than Cagayan, every time I've done top picks, one of them has made it to the end. At least one of them. So I like that trend to continue.